Welcome to Kauffman Writes, the #1 creative writing show on the internet for inspiration, motivation, strategy, technique, discussion, and maybe a little bit of procrastination. But don't worry, I won't tell anyone. And welcome to today. Our discussion is going to be so exciting. We're going to chat about how do you make a protagonist and what really makes that hero, that main character of your story stand out. We'll be chatting about that in today's discussion during our break. But before we get into any sort of discussion, we have to start off with our normal daily writing sprint, of which 2 writing sprints, 20 minutes apiece. If it's been a long couple of days, feel free to just kick back, chill out, and I'll write vicariously for the both of us. Or let's say you're feeling the creative vibes right now. I'll throw on the music and feel free to write along with me. And we're going to throw up straight away our mix number. I feel like it gives this very good, like almost like downtime, almost like creepy-ish fantasy vibe that's working very well for these certain moments of my story. So that is perfecto. All right, and I already got my screen queued up. Wonderful. Here's the synopsis on the left with the current state, if you want to read a little bit more about where I'm at. And I'm going to hop right into it. All right, and we are on chapter 31. Our heroes are about to enter the Shadowlands of the Eastern Monuments. We're gonna see what that actually looks like. Perfect. All right, 20 minutes on the clock, and let's write. Hey, what's up, Isabella? Welcome to the stream, my friend. Thanks for the like. I hope the writing's treating you well today. Hey, what's up, Pony Link? Welcome to the stream. Thanks for stopping by. Good, good, good. We're just in the middle of our daily writing sprint. I'm working on one of my stories, The Last Scarecrow. It's super exciting. Yeah, thanks for checking out the stream. We're doing a writing sprint, and then we're gonna talk about some characters after this. Oh, I love character journey. It is. So I blew up. I have the synopsis over here. It is a fantasy. What's the best way to phrase it? It is a post-apocalyptic fairy tale about a scarecrow and a bunch of heroes, a bunch of animals who are going on a journey to fight the first demon. Ooh, that's exciting. What's your story about? I'd love to hear that. What's the story? I always love hearing other writers' story. Hey, what's up, Stephanie in the house? Welcome, welcome, my friend. Yeah, yeah. It kind of goes back and forth between like lighthearted fairy tale and then very gory horror. So I'm finding the balance as I write. Ooh, sounds exciting. That's definitely my type of story. Originally, I was trying to define the genre when I first started out, and I since gave up on that. I'll let the story write itself, and the story will define the genre by the next draft. Feel free to read along as I'm writing, or work on some of your own writing, my friend. I always try to throw on some good writer vibe music. Perfecto. Wonderful, wonderful sprint. All right, that was pretty good actually. I was asking myself what type of setup I needed to do for this part of the story because right now I need to get them to that next major plot point, which is the nest. And originally I was just going to skip at the intermediary chapter, but I realized that in the exploration of their journey, I really wanted to explore some world building. And I think this world building is going to be very important for setting up, increasing the tension and the stakes for these areas that they're about to enter. The nest being the first major area. A lot of the areas that the heroes found themselves in the first half of the story, well, there was definitely a lot of dark elements to them. They were of the light. They were in areas that were lighter, right? They were in a field, a forest, a the edge of a cliffside, where the overall environment still felt like it was open and wider. And now, as they're going further in, the very land itself is getting more compact and darker. And that's going to be a similar theme that's going to resonate as they explore the Eastern Monument. Oof, I love it. All right, so I'll come back to that in sprint number 2. So we'll hop into another sprint in just a few minutes. But before we do that, let me throw up my break. All right, a 10-minute break on the clock. And let's hop into this exciting discussion. So, how do you write a protagonist that resonates with people, with your readership, with the world? I always ask myself, when I'm trying to do something, my first step, my first research, my first dive into anything is look at what works and why does it work. I've spent an entire lifetime reading, watching TV, film, and seeing a lot of different styles because I like to analyze. Why do characters like Indiana Jones, Harry Potter, let me think of other heroes. What are some of my favorite heroes, actually? I always loved Doctor Strange from Marvel. Always loved Tyrion from Game of Thrones. A little less of a hero. Luke Skywalker from Star Wars. Why why do these characters resonate with a large audience? What is it about them that makes them memorable, makes them relatable? Because in each certain hero's journey, and every character does have its own type of arc, its own type of story, there's things that are generally done that make this hero a little different, right? So when we think about writing a hero that resonates, you always want to, or I ask myself, what is something about the character that is quirky? What's like the one thing that you want them to be remembered for? Now, of course, when we're creating characters, you'll generally create a whole like bio eventually. You'll want to create a profile to really detail what does your hero look like. And that doesn't always have to happen in the beginning. Sometimes it can happen before the story starts. Sometimes it can happen before the second draft. You're going to want to define your hero at some point. But the great thing is, it's based on your process. Every writer has their own process. And that is what I love as a creative writer. And by the way, if you're just hopping into the stream, welcome. We're just chatting about how to write a protagonist that resonates with readers. By the way, if you're in the middle of working on a story and you've written like a really cool hero, I would love to hear about it. What type of hero or protagonist are you working on right now? Drop it in the comments below. I'd love to chat about it. As you can see with my character, the last scarecrow, my hero is a scarecrow. Like my challenge to myself, can I create a scarecrow character that is more memorable than any other scarecrow that we know in popular pop culture? And when I think of scarecrows, I think of the scarecrow from The Wizard of Oz. I feel like I can. I feel confident in my ability, but it's a process. So how do we create the character that resonates? We want to think about what's the one thing that you want your readers, that you want people to remember that character for. Sometimes it can be a quirk. Sometimes it can be a flaw. Sometimes it can be a strength. I like to start with the one thing because you want to make it easy. Now, of course, a character is more than just one thing. Of course, a character has to be many dimensions because for us as readers to connect with the character, we want to believe that they are a real human being or they're a real living being. Let's see, a living being is better. A real living being. If we don't believe that they are real in our minds, regardless of if you're doing nonfiction or fiction, then they're not going to get attached to the story. And if a lot of the times, if readers don't get attached to the main hero, then a lot of times they won't want to get engaged. Now, sometimes that can change. Sometimes you have stories where the world building is on point. Sometimes the dialogue is engaging enough. Sometimes supporting characters work really well. But your hero, it's the story is about your hero. There's a reason that the predominant storytelling structure is called the hero's journey, because we're following your hero's story. And I'm a huge proponent of character development, especially as I do my own storytelling. Whenever I'm stuck in my story, whenever I'm trying to figure out like, all right, what scene has to happen next, I always take myself back to what is my hero's journey. There's a message that, of course, every writer wants to share with their story, but that message is personified through your protagonist, through your hero. So once you have the thing that you want your hero to be remembered for, let's think of a couple popular examples, right? So Harry Potter and the scar on his forehead. Huge memorable thing, right? The boy, the power of love. That's his whole thing. And then let's see other characters, Luke Skywalker, and really like the underdog character. You always get the image of Luke Skywalker with the blue lightsaber, right? That's that image of him fighting against Vader, against the dark side. All right, let's see. What are actually? I'm actually very curious. I'm going to pull this up. I'm curious to say, what does Google say? I'm trying to guess. What do you think are the five? Let's go five. What are the five most popular protagonists in the history of creative writing? We'll say creative writing. Let's see. So usually it comes as top five. Now I'm just doing a random article here. I was curious. I get interesting. So I get some more nonfiction characters from this one. I get Mia Thermopolis from The Princess Diaries, Blair Waldorf from Gossip Girl. I'm not as familiar with either of those works. We get Artemis Fowl, Violet Baudelaire from Series of Unfortunate Events. I enjoyed that series. And Harry Potter. I'm not surprised. Let's see. I'm going to go check another one on Don Vito Corleone is a crime boss. Yes. It's always fun to write the anti-hero. So when you know the thing that you want your character to be recognized for, what else can you do to make them really resonate? You want to think about the core emotions. You want to think about the emotions of love, hate, happiness, sadness. And you want to make those core emotions. You want to connect that with your character, right? People connect with emotions. We connect with their emotions. Your goal is to make people connect with the emotions that your character is experiencing. All the obstacles, all the other characters they encounter, all the things that happen to them force the character to feel something and then react. Or maybe not feel something, right? But regardless whether it's feeling or not feeling, it's still always tied to an emotion, right? If the reader doesn't feel anything, they're not going to care. If they don't care, they're not going to read, or they're not going to watch your movie, script, TV, whatever. Let's see, and over in the comments, Stephanie, I found that my protagonists slowly turn into the antagonist, or that my antagonist turns into the protagonist towards the end of the book. You know, that's interesting. I'm not surprised by that type of development because 9 times out of 10, the antagonist is the hero's opposite, their mere reflection. I think one of my like favorite examples of this was and I know it's been done a lot of times before, but that older movie graphic novel, Scott Pilgrim Saves the World, when the character at the end, the evil bad guy is just his shadow and he fights against a shadow. I'm like, all right. But then the ending is after he fights the shadow, they walk out and they're best friends. That's the resolution. And I always like to call back to that moment, right? Because a lot of times the antagonist should be the direct reflection of the hero, which is a lot of times why your protagonist has these strong beliefs. A lot of time, the antagonist reflects the opposite beliefs. 9 times out of 10, if the hero is like, save the world, save people, care about people, the antagonist is selfish, maybe doesn't care about people, maybe wants to hurt people, or maybe they don't care about hurting people as a result to get their goal achieved. So it's interesting that your protagonist becomes the antagonist because they're learning through the obstacles that the antagonist is throwing at them. Because for the protagonist to reach the end of your story, they have to grow and they have to learn from the obstacles. The obstacles that the antagonist throws at them are based off the antagonist's way of thinking and the way of viewing the world. Hence, the protagonist learns the things that the antagonist is doing, and for the hero to defeat the antagonist, get to the climax, and resolve the story, they have to know the things that they know deep down. They accept the things about themselves. They learn the things that the antagonist wants them to or doesn't want them to do. They learn the antagonist's message. They combine the two. Hence, it's the idea of the 3-act structure. Act 1 is the hero's original world. Act 2 is essentially them learning about the antagonist's world. Act 3 is them combining, and then they save the day, and that's Act 3. Hey, what's up, Silent? Welcome to the stream, Silent. I hope you're getting some good studying done over there, Silent. Maybe taking a break if you have a spring break this week. So let's see, let me think. So what else makes a protagonist really resonate? So beyond having something that's memorable and then having them connected to, I like to say, like the 6 core emotions. Now, with the 6 core emotions, anger, happiness, love, hate, ask yourself, what does your protagonist love? What is the thing about the world that your protagonist love? Now, of course, they can love, hate, they can feel many different things about many, many different things, but we like to do that as a starting point, right? And I think those are the core beliefs that will resonate deep within your protagonist, right? They could love pepperoni pizza, for instance, but that's not the thing that they actually love. Unless maybe their parents died when they were young and their last meal with the parent was a slice of pepperoni pizza. So that's the thing that they cherish most in the world because that's reminds them of their parents. I actually love their parents, but it's shown through pepperoni pizza. Random example, right? So if you've connected your hero or protagonist through those 6 core emotions, you're going to be more likely to connect that character, that hero, with your audience, with your reader, because by showing those emotions, you're more likely to have people resonate with that character. And if you don't believe me, think of your favorite book, TV show, movie, let's say piece of content or medium, and think of your favorite protagonist and why is that your favorite protagonist? Usually, like, we know we like characters for a reason, but we kind of have to like take a second and think about it. Like, what is it about that protagonist that really resonates with me? And 9 times out of 10, it's going to boil down to the underlying message of their actions. Let's see, Stephanie, in my book, it works a little bit differently. Since the hero turns to the dark side, so to speak, and the people you think are the villains are actually the heroes of the story. Interesting. So, I would actually, okay. So I see what you're saying. Actually, I totally get that. You're kind of doing a role reversal. The person who starts off as the hero ends up as the bad guy, or bad guy. The villain starts off, ends up as the hero. I would actually argue that villain, the character who we think is the villain originally, is actually the hero. the entire story, even if it's framed in a way where he's the bad guy. Because you're doing a role reversal, I would argue that he's actually the one. He's the story is him as a hero, but the way that you're formatting it is done in a way to drive suspense, to throw the reader off, to make the reader guess and think otherwise. But that would just be like an initial guess, just based on what I've some of the excerpts I've read of your stuff. And yeah. But granted, I'm also assuming that you're talking about your hunted story, because I've really been enjoying that piece of content, that writing. But that's so cool. What I love is I love when we write stories and role reversals and trying to surprise readers and trying to change expectations is such a cool part of storytelling, right? And that's such a cool part of trying to like challenge the reader and really make them want to know more, but want to know more. So like they have to keep reading, and then they're not going to know like what to expect. That is always the cool thing. I always like to refer Game of Thrones as one of my favorites of doing role reversal and setting up expectations very, very well up until the end of the series. The books, of course, do a great job. Absolutely. All right, excellent. So that's just a couple thoughts about characters, creating characters that resonate. Stephanie, thank you for sharing. I appreciate that. If you're dropping by the chat and you have some ideas, or you're also developed characters that resonate with you, or if there's any characters that come to mind, definitely feel free to drop it. I'm going to reset the timer and hop into another writing sprint. But if you're here and you're getting value out of the writing sprint or the discussion so far, don't forget to follow and subscribe. I daily writing sprints, daily discussions, story readings, do critiques on the weekend. I'll be here every day, 5 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, 2 p.m. Mountain Standard Time on weekends. So follow and or subscribe, tap that button, and you'll know when I go live and when I launch new videos and shorts to continue to give you inspiration and help you become a better writer. All right, wonderful. And now, let's see. Let me throw back on. I want to do something. All right, and I got 20 minutes on the clock for writing sprint number 2. All right, and I am set on my end. Feel free to read or tag along. All right, 20 minutes on the clock, and let's write now. Wonderful. What a great point. What a great stopping point. Oh, I definitely feel accomplished. I wanted to set that up when as I was thinking through what does this like area gonna look like the world up above has been very bright, very much more open, and now they kind of traverse into this like narrow canyon pathway that goes down deeper into the earth, almost like they're entering an underworld. Almost, I kind of want it to give that sense, and I'll probably add more descriptions that resonate with a underworld type terminology in the second draft. But I like what I have so far. I'm not sure if I'm too happy with some of the names. Like I gave random names to some of the creatures. I'm using Shadowlands, and I'm like, all right, it feels a little generic. I go back and forth on if that's something that I like or not. When I come up with names, I try to be intentional with the name choice, so that way it feels like it's something that you haven't heard of before, but still feels memorable or even can feel familiar. And Shadowlands right now feels kind of like a little too generic, but it's a good placeholder. I'm of the mindset if you don't know what to call something, if you don't know what to do something, write a placeholder, write anything. I would rather, if you feel stuck, write something that feels like garbage than write nothing at all, because then you're moving your story along. And the great thing is you can always go back and fix it. And you don't know that just by writing that like piece of garbage, or I'm not calling what I've written garbage, but just in general, you don't know that if you rate something and then in like tomorrow or next week, you're going to be like going about your day and you'll be like, oh my God, I just got a great idea. That place, I actually have a better way to use that using what you had originally written. Right. So never undersell your creativity, and don't let a lack of ideation stop you or pull you out of your process, your writing process in the moment. All right, wonderful. So I feel great about that. That was a solid writing sprint. I hope you were able to get some writing done yourselves. That was very, it was cool. I want to get them to the nest, but I realized as I'm working on this, I'm like, all right, they've got to deal with something. They've got to deal with some type of obstacle that this land represents. And I have a couple ideas of what I'm going to do next. I've been kind of going back and forth on like what would be something fun. I'm always of the mindset if you don't know what to do, think of something that just seems like it would be fun to write, and you can always go back and change it, right? And that's something that like I did with like the Dragonkin, for instance. That was the last time when I was really stuck in my story and I had no clue what I wanted to do. I'm like, well, I love dragons, so let's throw in a mythical creature there. And that turned into the three dragons, and now Red's one of the characters. And I like Red. I like Red as a character. I really want to figure out how to develop her. Atomic. Funny. My story plot includes a chasm too. I didn't copy you. You're like, copyright, copyright. The dark chasm trope. Copyrighted in Last Scarecrow first. The Last Canyon. The Last Canyon. I am like very intentional with you with calling a lot of things like the first and the last in this world, because it's like an intentional thing with my the storytelling of this universe. I didn't call you, but it's sci-fi, so I'm sure it will be different. So because it's sci-fi, that means they're going to go into the canyon and then they will be attacked by robots. They'll be attacked by mech. They'll walk into the canyon and then realize that the chasm is not a chasm. It's a digital simulation of a chasm. It's like what sci-fi tropes can we use? You'll realize that the chasm is actually on a spaceship, and that they've just entered. Wait for it, Atomic. The chasm of their mind. I'm being facetious. Oh man, but that's awesome. It's kind of ironic that you have a chasm too. I think because the thinking through like a chasm kind of feels like we're taking like the setting and the environment. It's like taking it to like a deeper level in the story. The first half of my story takes place above ground level. The second half of the story is going to be taking place below ground level, so to speak. I mean, they're technically on ground, and I'm very intentionally not wanting it to be an underworld. They're not entering an after a place that exists far below. Yeah, I intentionally don't want it to feel like an underworld, but I do want it to feel like a much darker version of the world that they've grown accustomed to so far. And right now, the only characters with knowledge of this world out of the 6 of them is Skunk, who we don't know why or what Skunk's background is. I've already developed Skunk's backstory, so that will be shared all in good time. And then Pebble. Pebble has had some experience in this part of the world, in the lands of the Eastern Monuments, but that is something that I'm still going back and forth on, like, what would make sense for her character. So that I'm still playing around with, because I think Pebble's arc is really fun. I actually love what I have in mind for the way I'm going to tie off her arc by the end of the book. So I'm actually very happy about that. So I'm having fun. Thanks for sticking with me today, friends. I hope you were able to get some writing done yourself, or at least some ideation development. Sounds like you've been getting a little going on, which is always nice. Today's Wednesday, which means halfway through the work week if you do that 9 to 5 job, and maybe it's almost the weekend. So then we can get some even better writing in. All right. So with that out of the way, as always, creative writing on the morrow. My live stream, 5 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. I'll be here tomorrow. Will you be here? Come and join me for another writing sprint and another fun discussion. I'm always playing around with what different types of like creative writing topics that I want to talk about. I feel knowledgeable in so many different types of areas, but if there's ever a topic that like you want to know more about, or if there's one that you want to discuss, feel free to let me know in the comments below my this video. Drop a comment, let me know, and I'd be happy to plan for future videos. I always like that. I think my goal with these live streams is to explore as many different areas of creative writing as possible to help give you more tools, or even share some of your experiences, because sometimes when we share our experiences, we kind of learn more about our processes itself just by talking and just by like typing and putting it into a computer. So, but before I wrap up this stream, don't forget, tap that like button on your way out. Let me know that you got value from this. Let me know that you enjoyed the experience, and let's show the algorithm that this was a nice, engaging little stream. It's always nice to have a good writer's mindset, writer's vibe. So thanks for dropping by, my friends. As always, words are wind, but stories are forever. I'm Kauffman, and I'll catch you on the morrow.